Our goal for this Lunch and Learn is to promote learning, encourage mentorship, and build community as an industry. The idea for this meeting really came from the 2025 US WIN conference. During this conference, a lot of us SROs were kind of just walking around. You talk to a bunch of people and they're from all these different departments. And finally, we found someone who was an SRO. And then we found another one and another and another. And we started sharing community and stories and just building these relationships and staying in contact even after the conference. Also during this conference, we participated in that Grow Speed mentoring session and were approached by a lot of different women that were interested in joining ops, but had hesitations and had questions. So we started talking amongst ourselves and decided that we could help solve this problem. We could all come together and kind of answer these frequently asked questions and just reach a whole bunch of women all at once about any questions they have about joining operations and encourage them to join operations if it is the right decision for them. And also we hope to build community through anyone else who is a reactor operator or senior reactor operator. I know through this I've met a couple other women and it is just amazing to all work together and just have someone to share stories with. So we're going to go ahead and get to meeting our presenters. We will have questions at the end, so feel free to drop them in the chat as we go, but we will be saving those for the end. So I'll get started. I'm Diana Peck-Early. I am a senior reactor operator and chief technical advisor at Browns Ferry Nuclear Plant. I've been licensed since 2024. Before that, I swore I was never coming to operations. So I wish I would have had something like this maybe earlier in my career to get me to ops a little bit sooner. But before that, I was a system engineer and a graduate school researcher. I have degrees from Texas A&M, if we have any Aggies here, and South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. I am married. I married my spouse during license class, managed to have a honeymoon and our wedding all during that time. And my spouse does work full-time on site. They are involved in outage schedule as well. So both working in the nuclear industry. During my free time, I like to do anything outdoors. You'll catch us going to national parks, running, kayaking, and doing anything we can with the dog. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to Sarah.
Hey there, I'm Sarah Torgerson. I'm a senior nuclear reactor operator at Browns Ferry. I'm a shift technical advisor also. My path to a senior reactor operator desk wasn't traditional. My foundation started in the sciences. I earned my bachelor's in biology with my chemistry and went on to complete PhD coursework in biotechnology. However, I'm not a doctor. It'd be cool if I was an evil doctor. Alongside my academics, I served in the Mississippi Army National Guard during Operation Iraqi Freedom. I was a combat medic and a radio operator. Later, I transitioned into leadership as a CBRN officer, that's chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear, where managing toxic radiological and chemical threats under pressure was the standard baseline. And then I transitioned to commercial nuclear power. I hired in at Browns Ferry as a chemistry technician. And then I became a first line supervisor. And I wanted to be closer to the core of operations to better understand how I was affecting the plant and asset preservation. And in 2021, I took the leap and began ILT training, ultimately earning my senior reactor operator license in 2023. My husband and I have been married for 22 years. We have 2 children, Kendra, she's 16, and Kai, he's 12. In our spare time, we love to travel. I'm actually in the car headed to Nashville. We're flying to Banff today. And when I'm away, I'm with my family, and I'm just proud to be here today.
Hi, I'm Alicia Jenkins. I am the plant manager at Watts Bar Nuclear Plant. I have been with TVA 20 years. Like Sarah, I also started out at Browns Ferry in chemistry. I transferred to Watts Bar Chemistry, worked my way up through chemistry, spent some time at work management, decided to get my license. I went to ILT in 2016, got my license in 18. Spent some time at Sequoia Nuclear Plant as the operations director before coming back to Watts Bar to be plant manager. When I went to license class, I had a kindergartner and a first grader, and that feels like a lifetime ago because both my kids, I have a son and daughter, are in high school now and driving. And I have been married to my husband, Brian, for 18 years. We do own a small farm. It's hard to think about hobbies between the farm and all the activities that my kids are involved in, but they are getting to the age where they're driving and more independent. So if anyone has any hobbies I should be trying, feel free to shout out to me because I'm almost at that point where I don't know what I'm going to do with any free time that I have because they're becoming way too independent for me. It's nice to meet everyone and I'm happy to be here today.
All right, I am Julie Weber. I am a California born and raised kid and currently living in Minnesota, where yes, people did warn us it's cold when we moved here. I met my husband in engineering school. We're both mechanical engineers. I started my career at San Onofre doing probabilistic risk assessment engineering. And then we said goodbye to all our family and moved to a state with snow, and we didn't know anyone. And we have been in Minneapolis since 2009. I got my license in 2015. I was on shift for a couple of years and then went to day shift in a outage preparation role, and I've been doing that for the past 8 years. My husband and I have a daughter. She is 8. I am her co-Girl Scout troop leader, and just last winter I became a volunteer ski patroller. So there we go. Happy to be here, and thanks so much for joining us.
Hey everyone, I'm Jeanette Oakley. I'm currently a reactor operator at McGuire Nuclear Power Station here in North Carolina. I've been with Duke Energy since 2010 and in my current role as a RO since 2017. Before joining Duke, right out of high school, I joined the Navy as a nuclear machinist mate. So altogether, I've spent about 23 years in nuclear power. On my off days, my dog just walked in. On my off days, I enjoy spending quiet time at home with my dog Storm. She's a rescue pit bull, and she's a very sweet girl. I enjoy spending time with my nieces, especially when I get to fill them up with sugar and give them back to my sisters. They love that. And I also maintain a fairly large collection of houseplants. So if you have anyone out there who doesn't appreciate your new leaf picks, you can always just send them to me.
All right, thank you everyone. So as you can see, we have all this experience from across a lot of different areas. We want this to be interactive, so feel free to drop in the chat where you're from, what position you're in, and just make these connections now. So the first thing for getting to the control room is license class. So Jeanette, you want to walk us through your experiences?
All right, license class, when a lot of people hear license class, they're probably going to picture something brutal or sink or swim. For me, it was definitely very challenging, but when I was in class, I found out it was a lot more supportive than I expected. The program is designed to help people succeed. At a high level, license class is going to be your full-time job for about a year to a year and a half. Your focus is just going to be the classroom, the simulator, studying, and qualification work. Before you get there, there's going to be a selection process. Leadership is going to be looking at your performance, your work habits, and whether they believe you can be successful in the environment. So if you're selected, that usually means someone already sees the potential in you. The goal of license class is to develop people, not discourage them. It's designed to build competence and confidence through repetition, coaching, and standards. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
Doing that.
You're expected to put in the work, but you're not expected to do it alone. You're going to have instructors, you're going to have mentors, and you're going to have other licensed operators there to help you succeed and want to see you succeed. Training itself is going to cover systems, reactor fundamentals, abnormal procedures, emergency response, technical specs, and a lot of simulator time. The simulator itself is where it started to click for me because I was able to practice making decisions and seeing how the plant responded. There's also in the plant training built into class, which will help you connect what you're learning in the classroom to real plant operations, and you'll be under the direct guidance of licensed operators who will share their own experiences of class and OE of plant operation too. The hardest part for class was the learning curve for me. I came from a mechanical operator background, so I wasn't used to being in the field. I'm sorry, I was used to being in the field. I was used to hearing equipment, seeing equipment, and physically interacting with it. So moving from that to the control board was a big mental shift. Instead of turning a valve and hearing a pump start, I had to learn how to interpret lights, alarms, indications, and kind of decide what I was seeing, which mattered most. What helped me was asking for help early on. I would use the support around me. My instructors and classmates were always willing to help. And sometimes for me, that meant extra time in the simulator to help build my confidence. One of the biggest lessons is that I learned that it is one of the biggest lessons I learned is you don't have to have it figured out right away. As long as you stay teachable and put in the work and be consistent. When people ask how hard it is, I usually tell them it's challenging but manageable. People who do well aren't necessarily the people who are the smartest people in the room. They're the ones who are studying consistently, asking questions, and using support around them. So, covered class, okay, NRC exam. So from the time you start class to the time you're going to take your NRC exam, you'll be learning a lot of material, and you'll be getting tested a lot. So by the time you get to the NRC exam, you've already seen the format in which the questions are going to be asked. So by the time you get to the exam, the exam itself is going to be like the next step in the process. So it's not going to be a big shift in how you've already been studying. At the end of the day, license class is going to be hard, but it's designed to help you succeed. Just trust the process and stay consistent.
An instant, I came straight from engineering into the SRO role. And so for me, the simulator was also daunting. I didn't speak the language. It is a large room with all these hand switches, all these blinking lights, and I don't know what any of it means. But it was really kind of fun to go through the process, and the room started shrinking. I started understanding all these connections, and I saw my confidence begin to grow. I started believing in myself a little bit more and getting very comfortable in there. And all these reasons that people told me to go to class, hesitations were, we're not believing in ourselves. We think that we have to be ready to really apply into class, and that's not true. You have a huge team behind you. You have your training and operations staff that want you to get a license. You were selected for a reason. You also start to build your team. So you are in a class with 10 different individuals, depending on your station, and you all have a similar goal. You're all there for the same reason, and you all want to help each other. You start growing this teamwork early on and making connections that will get you through the 14 to 18 months that it takes to get a license, and then those connections will continue throughout your entire career. You also work on self-awareness. You start identifying where you need.
Hey, Diana, your mic keeps going in and out. Maybe see if you turn your camera off if the connection will improve. I'm not sure what else we could try.
Yeah, let me see if that works. And if it doesn't, let me know. There's one other thing I can try. So one other thing I recommend for license class, though, is start us off with a family pre-job brief. Let your family know what you're about to go into, what life and training will look like. For me, I had exams on Mondays, which meant the weekend before an exam, I was not going to be traveling. I was going to be focused, studying, and prioritizing class on that day. But it meant that the times that I could take leave, we were taking leave, we were taking a trip so that I could prioritize our time together. We also went on evening shifts, so discuss what that means ahead of time. And doing this early will allow you to juggle just one thing at a time and focus at one thing at a time. You're not reacting in the moment. Also, warn your family that you might start talking in three-way communications at the house. You're constantly being told to do this in the control room, and it will come out to fruition in the rest of your life too. So we've studied all these technical aspects. You're towards the end of class, it's setting in that you're going to be an operator. So let's transition to what medical considerations and family balance is going to look like. Julie, can you walk us through this?
Yeah, so one fun bonus feature of being a licensed operator is we get annual medical exams every year. So all nuclear stations have a site medical nurse and an associated medical review doctor or operator. And our concern is that our operators in the control room especially are alert and that we're healthy. So no, you don't have to run ultramarathons to be considered healthy, but we get checkups every year. That includes an EKG, that includes more blood work than my primary care physician gives me. So I know exactly how I am doing with my body. I have a heart murmur and I get it checked out every year. So I have an extra set of care team that's keeping an eye on me and my health. And it's done during work hours. You don't even have to try and coordinate it around work. It's part of your job. Your medical professionals are bound by HIPAA laws. So if you're worried about, well, if I report this medication, what does that mean to my crew? They are bound by the same privacy laws that your primary care doctor is bound by as well. So any medication that we take as licensed operators has to be reported, whether that's for antibiotics, blood pressure, diabetes, sleep apnea, all of those things that could impact our alertness are part of our license condition. So whenever you're in doubt, always report it. Whatever it is, it's just an ongoing conversation with your licensed nurse or on-site medical people. One kind of weird, less obvious one is there was an operator that was on steroids for being in contact with poison ivy. It's a skin thing. You would think, how can this impact their ability to be alert in the control room? Well, it's a steroid, and because of that, they were not allowed to take duty for the duration of their medication. As women in the control room, I was pregnant with my daughter when I was working in the control room, and it was just an ongoing conversation with our medical staff, with my department of how am I feeling? Am I getting enough sleep? How is my pregnancy going? Everyone is different and unique, and it's just kind of case by case. Some sites do consider pregnancy a reportable condition that you need to share with your site nurse. Some sites don't. So you can absolutely have a family while you're in operations, while you're on shift, while you're in license class. Any of the times, just ask the ladies at your station or your medical professionals if you have any questions ahead of time, so you know what you need to do to take care of that. And Sarah, you are also a family person on shift. What's that like?
Thanks. So when I entered license class in 2021, I felt confident. I had a strong science background, my experience as a first line supervisor, and years of military stress to lean on. But just 3 months into class, the unexpected happened. I ruptured a disc while running. It was kind of a crisis. My leg was dragging and I couldn't sit in a classroom chair to take notes, and I couldn't drive a manual transmission. If you know anything about initial licensing class, which we've covered, it's an academic firehouse. Missing even a few days can completely derail you. And I was terrified that this physical setback was going to cost me my career progression. So I had to apply the exact same tactical mindset I learned as a combat medic and as a chemical officer: assess the damage, protect the mission, execute the procedures. I stood up in the back of a classroom for hours when I couldn't sit, and I managed physical therapy, major surgery, and post-op recovery while absorbing prints, tech specs, abnormal operating procedures, and made an incredible amount of discipline, tight scheduling with my family, and leaning on my husband to keep life moving. I stayed in class, and so some of the things that we utilize, family responsibilities, is a shared calendar. Just like at work, you're adding activities to the calendar as far in advance as possible so that you can ensure coordination between groups. Do I need somebody to pick up one of the kids? Do we need to stay late? Do I need to go after work? We coordinate our household very similarly to the main control room. From a leadership perspective, they require the exact same operating philosophy. Running the home successfully takes the same skills: foresight, meticulous planning, high standards, and a lot of repeated expectations to kiddos. And so, as Diana mentioned, clear, direct communication, constantly reinforcing expectations so that there's zero ambiguity. And household needs have that same requirement of clarity. Maintaining healthy, functional home means high standards. Taking care of yourself. Hey, do I need to have groceries ordered? How do I take care of myself? Okay, I'm going to go to a 1 hour HIIT class. It happens to be on the way to and from work, so I don't have an excuse to drive past it. And so a busy family schedule and success comes down to preventing errors through strong alignment and clear communication.
All right, thank you. So we've cleared medical, You worked with your family to prepare for rotating shift work, and now it's finally time to report to the control room. Sarah, what does a typical shift look like for you?
So let's say it's just day shift. Arrive on site about 5:45 in the morning, make it to the main control room, complete a thorough turnover with your off-going counterpart. That takes maybe about 20 minutes. You're then going to review the schedule, make sure there were no changes incorporated into that schedule since you reviewed it the previous week. Have an alignment meeting with your fellow SROs and reactor operators. Have a turnover meeting at 7 a.m. Your AUOs are in the main control room by 7:30. You're giving any final directions as they head into the site, into the plant. 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. we would have a pre-job brief if we were running a major evolution of a core spray run or a HIPC flow rate. And you're going to have all the involved parties at that pre-job brief. Do you require instrument mechanic support for gauges? Do you require RP support for monitoring dose rates? Do you need chemistry to pull an airborne sample? And then once you've completed the pre-job brief, you go on with safe and error-free execution. You'll hold a after-action report, 4.0 report if it's a large enough evolution. You review the schedule as work is brought into the main control room to ensure that that the planning leading up to that work week execution has not missed something. You're the last line of defense of, is this work logical? Is it safe? And is it in the scope and best for the plant? By the end of the day, you're cleaning up the shift, making sure that you've got a proper turnover for the oncoming crew. You've printed out their procedures. You've made any kind of a communication and set them up for success. So that's it.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Jeanette, how about from an reactor operator perspective?
So from my perspective, she covered the typical shift at McGuire pretty spot on. The only thing I will add is managing your time when you're rotating off from like nights to days or days to nights. I learned that I have to protect my sleep and recovery time. And like she said earlier, is you kind of have to plan like when you're going to go grocery shopping and do other things with family because of your schedule.
All right, thank you. All right, so you've spent some time on shift and you hear about a day shift position open up. Well, what does that look like? So Julie, can you walk us through what you can do in a day shift position while maintaining your license?
Absolutely. So the outage is an incredible opportunity to really take on kind of some of those larger projects that need more cross group input. So maybe you need engineering, maybe you need licensing, maybe you need the procedures group to really do a much bigger change. When you are on shift, that experience is fantastic. Just to be able to see the plant, respond to the plant, take care of the plant. But it makes it a little harder to like really look ahead and try and be proactive on bigger, more complicated issues. Also, when you're on shift, you have Monday through Friday. You have 5 days every 5 to 6 weeks that you get to interact with the rest of the organization. So you may send an email on night shift, someone responds on days, you respond again on nights. So some of those bigger cross-discipline projects are just really challenging with a rotating shift schedule. So when you're on day shift, that's when you get to really take those on. I've been able to make testing changes for outages and save critical path time. The other things, like there's just a lot more visibility to impacts. And I would say the shift managers that have been responsible for the operations group in the outage department have had a lot of opportunity to demonstrate and be seen by corporate and fleet leaders, and they have launched their careers forward very quickly. That is due to their own effort, but also due to that visibility. If you want to be ops director or ops manager and shift manager, there is a very narrow pipeline to go do that. Go for it if you want it, but if you're open to any sort of leadership that's bigger, a day shift role is definitely an opportunity to get to know the rest of the organization a little better and see what opportunities are out there. And Alicia has definitely taken all those things onto the next level as plant manager. So what else do you have for us?
Yes, like Julie said, you get to coordinate on day shift with every single department on site, from material coordinators to engineering and everything that's in between there. There's going to be an opportunity to interface. If you think about it, the lion's share of work at a plant is going to occur on those weekday day shifts. So the likelihood of an emergent issue occurring during that opportunity is pretty high. So that's an opportunity for you to showcase your problem solving skills, your technical skills and leadership skills, and lean in when some of those issues happen as either an issue owner or a contributor from whatever your area of expertise is. So the success of the plan is really going to depend on you and that consistency that you'll bring with the operations crew being on straight days and being able to interface with every crew on site. In addition to that cross-department coordination, there's an aspect of inter-department coordination or crew-to-crew coordination. We talked about rotating shifts, and so at my plant, for example, there are 5 different crews, and sometimes we joke around and say, hey, that 5-headed monster is out there. And what I mean by that is that with the operations department always required to be here 24/7, there are no opportunities to have an all-hands meeting like you would get in other organizations where you bring the entire department together and coordinate a consistent delivered message at one time. So there's lapses in time because some people may be off on their 7-day break in their rotation, and it's a week or 2 before they're back on site to hear that information. So there's also an opportunity for the day shift operators to be that consistency for the department, to have that peer-to-peer influence and lean in and align everyone. So I think that's a great idea to bring that consistency and provide feedback and test your influential skills. And it helps create that community and teamwork, both in operations department and at the site.
All right, thank you. So we've talked about cross-department coordination, but what about collaboration within the control room during a shift with just your crew?
So I like to refer to the control room as your decision-making hub. So being a nuclear operator, it's never a solo job, but it's about working together, coordinating, communicating, and it's that mutual trust from both inside the control room with the operators up there, as well as other departments on site. And you have to do that in order to keep the plant safe and your peers safe. You're never working independently. Decisions are always deliberate, cross-checked, and reviewed prior to taking action. And the station really depends on ops to be transparent and speak up, no matter your experience level. So if you see something you don't understand, you have to be transparent and get the broader team engaged. And there are very few decisions in which you as an operator are expected to act independently and within a quick time frame. In those situations, ILT will make sure that you are ready. You will be tested on them over and over and over again throughout your entire career in operations. So there'll be no doubt in your mind when you see those signs and symptoms in the plant of knowing what action to take. And every other action, the way the control room and the plant systems are designed, you have time to act and get everyone involved. And your voice is very valued as an operator. People look up to you for that decision making. It's a lot of responsibility, but no one expects you to do it alone. They expect you to reach out, engage the broader team, get everyone involved. No matter the time of day, you have a system there to support you. So most plants have duty teams that are on call 24/7. So if I'm here at 2 o'clock in the morning and I see something I don't understand, I call the duty plant manager. Everyone gets on a call and we collaborate. And that doesn't stop in the control room. It goes beyond. If we need people to come in, they're going to come here and respond. In addition to that collaboration, you're going to continually collaborate with the training center. So just because you finished ILT and you got your license, it doesn't stop there. For us here at TVA, we continually train. I think there may be one rotation out of the year where we don't train. So we're over there practicing, getting feedback, working together with our crew and the training staff to be sure we are as prepared as possible.
All right, thank you. Jeanette, how do you see this play out at your station?
Thank you. To build on that, I'd say the control room can feel very serious, but it's not scary. It feels serious because the work we do matters. Our decisions affect the safe, reliable operation of the plant. And the work we do can be very challenging some days, but we're never going to be doing it alone. We look out for each other, we ask questions, and we work together to make good decisions.
I'll go ahead and dive into problem-solving techniques and how we develop those, both in and out of the control room and the operations department. So the operations department is the first line of defense at the plant. They are essentially the eyes and the ears. They're the first people to start equipment. They have operators out on rounds every day, monitoring, and we're looking for abnormal conditions and being curious and every day, periodically throughout the day. We have procedures, we have training, and the experience that we get from that to help us diagnose step by step. We apply a questioning attitude to understand what the plant's telling us. Does it match the expected conditions that we practice in the simulator? But like I said, with collaboration, you must rely on the team input, and problem solving is never done alone. So as with any plant worker, but especially in operations, you have to advocate for the plant by raising concerns early and ensuring that issues are properly addressed and not overlooked. You use conservative decision making and make sure that safety and quality are always prioritized over speed. And I'd say one of the most important parts is documentation so that we can learn from past mistakes, make sure that all crews are learning from that, and we can share that operating experience with the industry to move forward. Strong operators, we don't just react. You have to be willing to anticipate, monitor, communicate, and then, like I said earlier, collaborate. So part of being in the control room and that feeling that you have when you think about how am I going to know all this? I think Diana talked about that overwhelming feeling going into ILT is you want people to challenge you. You want to create that inclusive environment where people are not afraid to call you out and say, let's talk about this a little more, or why did you make this decision? You want to create that collaboration because you never want to be on an island when you're making risk-based decisions. So you'll have lots of opportunity to develop those problem-solving techniques, but again, with ILT, it gets really ingrained in practice with how you're monitoring.
All right, how about any advice for when it's a weekend, night shift, it's getting towards the end of the night, and everyone's mood just maybe isn't in the best place? You're getting a little snippy with each other in the control room. Do you have any advice to help in those moments?
Yes, a crew is definitely feels like a family dynamic. You spend a lot of time on these people with being on shift, so you build a lot of trust in that daily interaction. And there's going to be difference of opinion. You want there to be differences of opinion because, as I stated previously, you want to be challenged to be sure we're making the right risk-based decision. So you need to address conflicts early and professionally. And the best advice is don't let it build up, but focus on facts over emotion. I always try to assume positive intent. There are very few people that want to come into work being in a bad mood or do a bad job. So stick with the facts, let the emotions to the side. You have to always remember that plant safety, it needs to always override your pride. So keep encouraging that culture that allows people to speak up without any hesitation so that you can get that challenge. The next thing I would say is listen actively, listen to understand, seek to understand. I often ask people to write down what the problem is as they see it, because once it's written down on paper, then you can get into the standards, the procedures, and the technical basis to kind of vet out the information and stick strongly to facts. For a lot of decisions in the plant, there's going to be multiple correct paths that get you safely to the same end result. And sometimes it's okay if it's not your way, as long as you achieve the result safely, with quality, and efficiently as possible. It's okay to agree, to disagree, and I'll say, but with that, you always have to speak up if it's going to put the plant in harm or people in harm or raise your risk. So separate the technical disagreements from personal conflicts and keep the most important thing at heart. So that healthy conflict, in my opinion, will strengthen your team, and overall it will improve your decision making if you can speak up early, get it out on the table, and agree or disagree on the facts and move forward.
All right, thank you. We've heard a lot of great advice to get us comfortable in the control room and in this new routine as life as an operator. But you've been on shift for a while, or you've been on a day shift role a while as a licensed individual. You have two decisions. You can keep doing it, or you can find something new to do. We're often told that ops opens the doors for more and more opportunities, but ops can also be a lifelong career. It's great pay, great benefits, predictable schedule, and opportunities within the department. But for these other doors, Alicia, what doors have you seen open after having a senior reactor operator license?
So for me personally, that door first opened around the 2011 timeframe when I decided to go get initially an SRO certification. And I came back from the certification and I really liked what I learned. And with that, I had the opportunity to be work management director. And then I liked what I learned in ops so much with that 9-month stint and cert class that I decided to go get a license. And the reason I decided to go get a license is because when you look at the career mapping as a whole, the things that license class teaches you, it proves that you can learn quickly. It proves that you can adapt to change. It proves that you have the ability to stay calm under pressure and that you can make sound decisions. And when you have those foundations, you look across the map, there's a few examples on this slide, but you look across the map, there's a lot of industries, there's a lot of departments out there that look for those qualities, and being able to complete the program demonstrates that you have that ability. And I believe once you are licensed that the opportunities are endless.
Thank you. Julie, I know you have some pretty recent experience with different doors that have opened because of your license. Can you share it with us?
Yeah, sure. My family recently was evaluating a small modular reactor opportunity for me out of Toronto, and we ultimately decided to stay in Minneapolis. This is a better place for our family, and we are really excited to be able to stay here. But the small modular reactors, like, they are being built in the world. They are happening. They are beyond a design that is possible. They are starting to exist, and they will be coming to the United States as well. So get your license now, get a couple years on shift, and you will have some phenomenal experience to go write the next book in U.S. nuclear power history. That's one way a license can help you. When you're in the control room, you work a lot with our grid control operators to balance the loads that our plants are creating and sending to our community. Data centers are on the other end of that. They are an incredibly large load that has to coordinate with the grid as well. So a data center sees the skills that a licensed operator has as very similar to being able to implement and run a data center and connect to the grid that way. Non-technically, my ski patrol training was very, very similar to the structural license class. So going back to our question in our chat of what was that initial training like? Doing something that's completely foreign to you. I am a 3rd generation engineer. We have nobody in the medical field in my family. So this was all volunteer. It was after work hours. There was a 2-inch thick book, double-sided pages that we were going to go through in 10 weeks. I would have to learn how to talk to other human beings. I would be in their personal space. I would be splinting. I would be backboarding. I would be doing all of these things that at first look, how the heck are you going to teach me how to do that? I mean, I can split atoms and make electricity, no problem. But people, oh, this is really uncomfortable. This is really tricky. I'm overwhelmed. And I remembered my experience in license class, which is when you look at the end, it's intimidating. You will not be in the first training class that your site has put through. We know how to make operators. The training program works. Focus on what you need to do this week. Focus on your next step. And they all slowly build on each other. And it's hard to see how it comes together in the end, but it does. So trust your training program. Focus on the next thing you have to do. I had daily talks with myself working in ski patrol, like, okay, I don't know how I'm even going to get to the end of this week, but today I need to read one chapter. All right, that's what I need to do. I can do that. I will read this one chapter. I will worry about tomorrow. So that was one skill that works for me. And then knowing that the training program is set up to make successful people, having faith in it helps take a lot of that burden off of me to try and figure out how this is going to work and just do what I need to do right now. So that was a little piece of initial training. I am going to post in the chat the requirements to be a control room operator. So there are very specific requirements for experience-wise. So this is touching a little bit on the last question that somebody asked, but any way you can check one of these boxes to get experience to be able to apply to be a control room operator, great. Whether that's field operator, whether it's engineering, whether that's training, there are many different ways to get to being qualified to join class. Another comment that was brought up in the beginning talking about license class, if you have been selected to be in class, the station believes in you. They are invested in you. It costs a lot of money to send someone through license class. They're not going to take a chance on someone that they wonder if is going to make it or not. So have faith that they've picked you. You are capable. You can do it. You just have to put in the work required each week, slow and steady. And that is all I have on future things in license class in non-ops world.
All right, thank you, Julie. I actually want to just say thank you to all these women for joining us and sharing the experience, taking time out of their schedule. As you've noticed with the rotating shift work, not all of us are actually on schedule today. So some people are, traveling for vacation, some people it's off, some people are on site today. So I just really appreciate everyone dedicating time to this. A special thank you to Julie for really driving this. Also, with all of us being on shift work, she had to coordinate around 2 refuel outages, 3 planned maintenance outages, and normal rotating shift work schedule for a few of us scheduling all these meetings across multiple different sites. So I really do appreciate everything that you're doing for this, Julie, and continuing to drive this. So before we do Q&A, I want to just ask each individual on this panel, what's one statement you want to leave with anyone interested in operations? Jeanette, we'll start with you.
The one thing I would say is if you're considering operations, my best advice is to talk to people at the plant you're interested in going to, ask them about their work-life balance, learn as much as you can, and be willing to step outside your comfort zone.
I would say, in ops and in nuclear power, our standard is perfection, but we are people. That is impossible. So you are going to make mistakes. It feels awful when you do. I have made my own, and they are not fun, but those are how you learn the most. Take feedback, argue with procedures, not feelings, argue with standards if you feel like you are getting feedback that is not accurate. How you learn and grow from those mistakes are going to be far more impactful on your career potential than making that one mistake 8 years ago. So no, it's going to stink when you don't do a good job. Keep going. It's not the end.
Thank you. Mine is, if you're interested, you're ready. I think we spend a lot of time wondering, oh, I need more experience before I do this. I need to go see this. I need to do this. You're ready. Everyone who came into ops not knowing everything and came in wanting to work and wanting to learn. It's okay to be nervous. I was. There's days where I'm still a little nervous and I hit the books and I refresh myself before that task. You have a team on site and now through Women in Nuclear to help you grow and promote. When you're nervous, reach out to us. All of our contact information is here. We can put you in contact with other people at your utility. We're all part of Win together. Alicia?
So for me, and giving advice to my younger self and thinking about people early in their career, is there's no time like the present. So I had people early on that asked me about going to class. And for me personally, having a family, having children, that was high on my priority list. And I was most hesitant to go on shift work and what the impact would be to my family going on shift. So I kept putting it off and I kept putting it off. And it was 10 or more years into my career before I decided it was exactly 10 years in my career when I decided to take that leap of faith. And it's been beneficial for me. But I think about if I would have went 5 years earlier, where I could have been in my career, what I could have done differently had I taken the leap of faith sooner. One thing that we didn't explicitly say, but we kind of touched on is with that rotating shift, there was so much beauty in that I got 1 weekday off every single week. And so I was able to go to my kids' lunches or go on field trips or spend time with them because I always had some weekday off in that rotating shift. And we would go on vacations during my long stretch of break. I would partner it up with my 3-day or 3-night shift and get 2 weeks vacation and only use 36 hours of annual leave. So there were so many bright sides that no one ever advertised to me when I was young and trying to navigate everything. So starting when my kids were in kindergarten and first grade seemed very, very daunting, but I definitely think that I could have taken that leap of faith a little bit earlier. So as Diana said, or Julie, I can't remember which one, if people are believing in you and they see that capability, believe in yourself, take the leap of faith, find a good mentor and dive in. You're ready.
All right, great information to take with us. And I will throw in a plug if you are looking for a mentor and maybe your site doesn't have, a woman who went through ops, Grow mentoring program through WIN is a great resource. They have been very great in selecting mentors for me in the past and continue to do so. So I definitely encourage you to sign up for that if you are looking for a mentor. So now we have some leftover time for questions. Feel free to drop those into the chat and we'll answer them. If you have a question, 30 minutes after the meeting ends, like I typically do, feel free to take a screenshot of this page right here, has our contact information, and utilize that and reach out whenever you have questions or need advice. Also, keep an eye out for us at the 2026 US WIN Conference in Seattle. I believe most of us will be there. So I'll keep an eye on the chat for questions. All right, as someone who's interested in applying for the next SGPO class, this has been very informative. Thank you. So, yep, and we did focus on the control room, but if you have questions about going into the auxiliary operating or auxiliary unit operator, AO, ESO, whatever your site or utility calls it, please reach out too. We can get you in contact with individuals that can talk about their experience.
And Stephanie, I would highly recommend that path. The people that came to class that went from non-licensed operator up through the ranks had so much more confidence when they got to initial license training because they knew the plan, they had spent the time. And I was so envious of the knowledge and training that they had gotten the non-licensed program coming up through the ranks. So I think that's an excellent way to go.
All right, another question. Are there any challenges you had to face you attribute to your gender in this male-dominated field? I'll start. For me personally, I came from engineering, which was also male-dominated. So there weren't many instances that I felt came down to my gender. I feel like every once in a while I might get a little bit more grief about my drive and ambition and my inability to just sit and be calm. And really, the culture has changed so much in the nuclear industry the last 10, 20 years that you hear stories from the past, and I just don't see those instances happening necessarily at my site. Anyone else like to join in?
I would. Yes, my biggest challenge was myself because I kept in the back of my mind, someone's going to think of me differently because I have to go do this with my kids, or someone's going to think I'm not as good as, I need to work harder, I need to spend more time here, I need to stay longer to prove something. And at the end of the day, every person in the class is human. They have families at home, different dynamics. And it was very hard to get my self-critic to see that. And I think the pressure that I put on myself to prove that I was adequate was one of my biggest challenges and probably biggest thorn in my side as I went through it.
I would say one thing that has shifted positively for working women in general is parental leave that is now available to our gentlemen peers. I think that's just a really easy way to say, oh, girls just go make babies and then they go leave forever and they never come back. Well, men are now seeing the benefit of being able to spend that time with your newborn, and that stigma is significantly reduced. Parental leave was not around when I had my daughter 8 years ago, and many of the on-shift operators have been able to take advantage of parental leave and to really appreciate their family with that. Another one you might hear is women are too emotional. Okay, well, when you notice someone and you care and you show kindness, that is also an emotion. And guess what? People like that. So not that you have to be bubbly, Princess Sunshine all the time, but when you show a genuine care and connection to your crew and your team, people like that. They like to feel appreciated. They like to feel known. Not everybody wants to be put on display and, paraded in front of the crew for a good job. You got to know how people want to be recognized, but they may say oh, you're too emotional. They actually kind of like it.
That's great. I love that. I'll say with me too, one challenge, it's not a challenge in the control room necessarily, but there's times where I'm kind of done being surrounded by men. So that means on my off time, I prioritize going and catching up with my women friends and kind of just refreshing myself in that aspect. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just you do sometimes realize that you are the only woman in the room. And for that, you just prioritize your off time and fill your cup. Again, it is a big family, so people know to respect you. And I think a lot of senior leaders at the station have reinforced this, that we have a culture of respect at the sites. All right, I am not seeing any other questions. So just thank you again, everyone, for joining this call. Again, please reach out if you have follow-up questions. And we just really hope that this encourages you to consider operations if you hadn't before. And if you've been on the line about it, take the jump. It really has been a great career and just eye-opening. The people I've gotten to work with and the experiences that I've gotten to have because I'm in this role. And if you are a SRO, RO, auxiliary operator, just know that you are out, we're all here together. If there's a rough night where you are the only woman on site on a night weekend, just know you're not the only one in the US. We have more individuals out there and here to support you. So again, thank you presenters, and thank you everyone else for taking time out of your day to join us in this meeting. And just thank you US WIN for helping support make this idea an actual presentation. We will go ahead and call that end the meeting. Thank you again.